Hi, Clint Coons here with Anderson Business Advisors and Law Group. And in this module, I want to talk about wholesaling real estate. I've worked with hundreds of wholesalers in the last 17 years, people who want to go out there and build their initial foundation on wholesaling real estate. Now, if you're not familiar with this term, I'll explain it to you. When a wholesaling transaction, what you're doing is you're not actually buying the property, you're tying property up, giving you the right to close on it, but you're not going to close on it. You're going to transfer that contract over to another investor who will come in and take your place. Now, if I spend a lot of time looking for deals that I can tie up in this manner, then I want to be compensated. I'm just not going to give the rights to close to another party. I'm going to charge them for it. So in the typical wholesaling transaction, what these investors are doing, and you may be one of them, you're going to be like this. You're going to find a house right there. You're right here. Here's the investor down here that would like to close on this property because you've tied it up under contract. This is the seller, this is you, and this is the investor. So you've tied this up under contract that gives you the right to close on this property. And then what you'll do is you'll transfer this contract over to the investor. In exchange, the investor will give you some money. Now that's what we call a wholesale. That is, you're not buying the property. What you're doing is you're tying the property up under contract in order to give someone else the right to close, and you hope to get paid on this deal. Now, I've seen a lot of investors put these types of deals together, wholesalers getting out there, starting their business, getting their foot on the ground when it comes to real estate. But many of them are making mistakes. And I see this because they've been to a seminar, or they're working with a local friend who started out in wholesaling, and he tells them, oh, this is the way I did it, and this is the way you should do it. And so this advice that they're receiving, sometimes it's partially accurate. Most of the times, it's not even relevant to what they want to accomplish, and they don't know the problems they're going to face down the road when they utilize these strategies. For instance, are you aware that when you wholesale property in this manner, that you can be held personally liable and someone could sue you? So you have to be careful on how you structure the deal so that you don't bring back any personal liability. Are you aware that when you enter into a contract with someone, they may prohibit you from assigning it? So then you cannot set up this type of transaction and the deal falls through and you lose your earnest money because the seller refused the assignment. These are problems that are rampant when it comes to wholesaling property because individuals just don't know about it. Until they get involved in a transaction and it goes south on them, then they experience it, and then that costs them a lot of money to get that type of education. What I want to do is show you a way where you can put a wholesale deal together. You can protect yourself so the seller can't come back against you and sue you individually. And you can transfer the deal to someone else without anyone else standing in the way of that transaction and stopping it. And the way you do that is by structuring. At Anderson Business Advisors, what we do is we work with real estate investors. We show them the cutting-edge strategies, many of which we've customized ourselves to ensure that they work well out there in the real estate investing community. And the reason why we know this, number one, we're real estate investors. It's taken me years to gain this knowledge through my own investing and working with the thousands of clients we have. Number two, the reason why it's so important is that you need a team of professionals around you working with you. That is, you have individuals that are legally minded. So you have attorneys, you have tax-minded individuals, CPAs, you have financially minded individuals, like financial planners. You bring all of this in-house under one company, and then you've got a team of individuals, a circle of one, as some like to refer to it, focused on our client to ensure that they're maximizing their potential benefit, to ensure that at the end of the day they have more money. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is about, right? We're building a better financial future for ourselves. What does that mean? We have more freedom then to do what we want. We have the ability to leave on a greater legacy to our children. Now, the way in which you can hit road bumps along this path is by not having the proper structures or the proper advice along the way. Now, let me show you this. So, if I wanted to wholesale property in this transaction, number one, I have liability exposure. The liability exposure is right here, like this. Now, for example, this actually happened to one of my clients. My client had entered into this type of transaction before she met me. And what she had done is she'd entered into a transaction to buy 6 pieces of property from a seller. Now, in order to take the deal down, she needed to find someone to be a gap funder because she didn't have all the money she needed. She needed $70,000 from this person right here in order to go and buy those 6 properties from the seller, because that's what she was missing. So she entered into an agreement where this guy agreed to loan her the $70,000. Now we're less than a week away from closing, and what occurs? This gap funder backs out of the deal and says, hey, I can't loan you the money. My money's tied up. It didn't get out of the deal right now, so I can't come through for you. Well, this investor here was on contract with this seller to buy the 6 properties. Now you might be wondering, well, then the seller's going to lose their earnest, or not the investor's going to lose their earnest money. No, there's more to it than that, because the investor stands to lose more when you look at the agreement. So what my client did is she sent in a copy of the purchase and sale agreement, and I reviewed it for her. If you're not familiar with Anderson and what we offer, we have this tremendous platinum service that we offer to our clients for a very low cost of $35 a month, where you can call us at any time. You can speak to professionals like myself within the firm. You can get tax questions answered, and you're not going to be charged an hourly rate. So she took advantage of this. She said, Clint, here's what I have. What should I do to get myself out of this situation? Unfortunately for her, there wasn't a way out, because what had happened is that this seller was going to sue her for damages under the contract. So damages were provided if she didn't close. Now, what damages might the seller have if she doesn't close? Well, it's understanding where liability exists. Most people don't see it because they haven't been around the real estate industry long enough or dealt with investors or done their own deals to find out how liability can just spring up out of nowhere at any given moment. Well, in her case, this seller had agreed with his bank to short sale these properties. The bank held off on foreclosure if he could get this deal closed. So he needed to sell that property next week. The problem was she was backing out. So that seller was understandably upset, and he was going to suffer damages as a result of her breach of that agreement. So he told her straight up, I'm going to sue you now for damages because you cannot close. So what happened here that put this individual in this position where they now become personally liable under the agreement? Well, it's because they put the agreement together in their own name. Never put your agreement together in your own name. You always want to have an entity that stands between you and the seller of the property. So what you should do is create a C corporation to do this. Now, there are many tax reasons why you want to have a C corporation as a wholesaler, and I'm not going to go into those. Those are something that we go really deep into if you come to one of our events, such as our Tax Strategies and Solutions live event that we hold 3 to 4 times a year. For 3 days, myself, my partner, and our tax department teach the individuals who attend this class various strategies on how to reduce their taxes. And one of the main entities that we focus on is a C corporation, and how beneficial that can be for you, because so many CPAs downplay the importance and the benefits of C corporations, and that's just because they don't understand them and the benefits that they can the benefits they can provide you. I know, because I've been using them, and I've experienced tremendous benefits by having a C corporation set up. Okay, so now you enter into this agreement between your C corporation and the seller. So if it goes bad, the only person this seller can sue is your corporation, which that's fine. They can sue the corporation, but they can't sue me personally. So the first thing I've done now is limited my liability. Now, the second issue you have in this transaction here is, how do we set this up if we're going to wholesale properties here in order to assign the contract to someone else? Now, what you'll find in many situations is that when you enter into this type of an agreement here, and you're going to assign the agreement over to this person here, and your corporation is going to get paid, you could run into a problem. Sellers like this that experience, as I stated, property that's going up in value don't want to honor the assignment. Maybe they put language in their agreement that states that the contract is not assignable. So if you don't close on it, they get to keep your earnest money, and they can go out and sell the property to somebody else, maybe at a higher price. So they make more profit. If you're dealing with HUD will not allow you to oftentimes to assign your contract. So if you find great deals on HUD and you tie them up, and then you want to assign that paper to somebody else to close in your place, won't happen. REOs, if you're dealing with banks, I've done this. I dealt with banks before where I wanted to assign the contract over. Where basically I was a wholesaler, so I would find the property with the bank, tie it up under contract, and then want to assign it to the actual investor who was going to take the deal down. and the bank would not allow it because they would only close in the name of the person or the entity in which they originally entered into the agreement with. So these are problems you face. Now, if you want to structure that deal, even though you face those problems, then your only solution many times is to do a double close. And what that means is that you buy the property, and then after you bought the property, this guy will come in behind you and buy the property from you. Now, what does a double close mean? It means this: more costs and fees involved in the transaction. So if you have more costs and fees, what does that do to your profit? It drops it. You're going to lose more money as a result of this because the deal wasn't set up to be tax and income efficient. You want to have efficient deals. You want to have strategies that are relevant to your investing so you can build and reach that financial freedom so much sooner. And there's ways to accomplish that. So what are some of those common ways that wholesalers use to accomplish that strategy or that transaction and not worry about someone stopping them from wholesaling out or preventing the assignment? Well, this is what I've seen a lot. People will put together an LLC just like this, and they'll have the LLC owned by their corp, and the LLC will then enter into the contract with the seller. And then here's the investor who actually wants to acquire the deal. They will then, after they've entered in the contract, sell the LLC to the investor, and then the investor pays the corporation. That's simple, right? You created an LLC. The LLC owns the right to close. Whoever owns the LLC now owns the right to close on that deal and get that property. And that then becomes the investor. Well, I've seen guys do this. They're running around creating LLCs, putting these deals together, and then assigning the LLC over to the investor. And they think, wow, this works awesome. Well, many of them do not understand or appreciate that they're creating problems for themselves because they're not doing it right. They don't understand, A, how to set up a proper LLC, or B, how to properly assign the LLC to the investor to close on it. They screw up the EIN number and they don't notify the IRS, because here's what happens. If you want to set up an LLC to do this, first off, you have to file articles of organization with the state. That's a cost. You have to have a registered agent. Okay, that's going to be you or someone else. That's a cost there if you use a third party. And then you have to obtain an EIN number. You have to draft an operating agreement. So now you've done a lot of legal work to create a structure that will enable you to buy this property. So you have some costs already out of pocket before you've done the deal or made any money. Now, in addition to that, once you have sold this LLC to this individual, you then have to go back through and do this. You have to update the Secretary of State with who the new owner is of the LLC. You have to update the state with the owner as a registered agent. You have, and that's fees, by the way, to do this. You have to update the IRS who the new owner of the company is. You have to prepare the proper assignments to transfer the LLC over to the member. You have to assign the membership interest over to him as well. And the list goes on and on. So you have to do all of these different steps in order to move this to this person here. And you don't want to screw up one of them along the way, because if you do, you could kill this transaction or this transaction for this person down here. Maybe they won't even get title insurance on the property because title's going to ask for copies of the documents, and they're going to see some deficiencies along the way, and they refuse to close or issue title on that property. So I am opposed to using limited liability companies for these types of transactions for the reasons I just described. Now, I know this has been a problem, though. And there really was not a good solution out there to set these deals up. And about 4 years ago, I sat down with my partner, Toby Mathis, and this was the problem we faced. You know, we got into a room together. We said, hey, we've got these clients, lots of clients that are engaging in wholesale deals. They're facing these issues. One, they can't assign the agreements. Two, they're forced to set up LLCs, and it's expensive for them, and it's time consuming, and many of them are screwing it up along the way, and they don't realize the problems they could potentially face down the road. We need to design a better strategy, a solution that will continue to minimize their costs and then make it seamlessly transfer over to the investor without alerting anyone to the fact that there's been a transfer of the rights to close on that deal. And first and foremost, we want to make it as seamless as possible for them. Now, After thinking about it long and hard, the solution is similar to a land trust. Now, if you watch one of my other modules on land trust, you know this, that if you're going to set up a land trust is set up to own real estate. So let's assume that you have a land trust here. This is a box, and it owns the real estate. The nice thing about having a land trust is that if you own property inside of this box, then wherever the box goes, so goes the property. So it could go to this person, up to this entity up here. And so if you transfer this box to this person, this person, this person, what does that require? An assignment, one piece of paper. I hereby assign 100% of my beneficial interest in this box to this person, to this person, then you get what I'm talking about there. But from a public records point of view, if anybody's looking at title to this property, all they see is that the property is titled in this land trust. They have no idea who owns the trust, who's involved with it, because that information is kept private. So they just know that the property is held in a box, and where the box goes, so goes the property, and it's hidden from public view. So with that basic premise in mind, what we looked at is we said, how do we take this strategy with the land trust, which has been so effective for our clients in dealing with their residential real estate, getting asset protection, anonymity, avoiding the due on sale clause with respect to lenders? How do we take that basic concept and apply it to a wholesale transaction? Now, we started with the land trust and we went through it from A to Z. We started at the very first page in paragraph, line by line, figured out what we couldn't have in there and what we could have in there and what we were missing in there. And we came up with a very specific type of trust that we refer to as our wholesale trust. I'm just called WT. It's our wholesale trust agreement. It has some similar characteristics to a land trust, and that is that the wholesale trust is not designed to own property. What the wholesale trust is designed to do is own the rights to a contract like this. And it gives you the ability to take that trust and move it to an investor. But when so doing, you do not alert these sellers over here to the fact that you've transferred this box. The only thing the seller sees is that the rights to close on this property is in the name of the trust. They don't know who owns the trust, because that information is private. So all they know is that the trust is the one that's going to close on the property. So what we do is this. We set up the wholesale trust. We make the corporation the beneficiary of the trust. Our client here is the trustee of their trust. And then they go and they contract with the seller under the name of the trust to buy this house. With me? Okay, so that's first thing. Now we tie the property up under contract under the name of our trust. And you can come up with any name you want for this, and we'll talk about that in a second. Now, once that property's been tied up under the trust, the next step is to then find the investor and sell them the trust. So get rid of this line. So now our corporation will sell them the trust, and our corporation will receive a fee for that. Now, the investor then becomes the owner of the trust, and he becomes the trustee of this trust, so he can then close with the seller in the name of the trust, and it then becomes his property at that point in the game. So this type of transaction we've utilized very successfully to ensure that our clients can tie up property, wholesaling them in wholesale deals, and then be able to transfer the rights to close to an investor, and the seller will not balk at the transfer. So banks won't balk at it, HUD won't balk at it, sellers that find better or people are willing to pay more, they're stuck in the agreement. They can't find a way out of this agreement because they agreed to sell to the trust, and whoever owns the trust has the right to close. It took us several months to put this trust together. I tell you, once we did and we looked back at it, we said, this is a piece of art. Well, not quite, but you get my point. This is something that is very beneficial. Now, here's what's great about this is that when you use our wholesale trust, I tell people, I say, carry a stack of them around with you. Don't just take one out. Take a whole stack of them. Have them all pre-printed. We pre-print them with your name as the trustee. Your corporation's going to be the beneficiary of this trust. And the only thing we don't fill in is the date. We don't fill in the name of the trust or the information about the contract that we're going to enter into with the seller. That we hold back until you find the deal. So if you go out there, you find a deal that you want to put under contract, then all you do is you pull up a new trust, fill out a name, call it anything you want. You can call it the property address, you call it Green Frog, Red Frog, Brown Bear Trust, whatever you want to call it. You call it anything you want. Put the date down, sign it, put the information in that's required for the contract. There you go. You've just now tied up property under this wholesale trust. So that one goes in your folder. See another property that same day, pull out another trust, fill it out just like I described. Boom, there you go. Now you got another one. say you're out driving around for 7 hours, you put 4 properties under contract, all under different trust name. Now you got to go out and find your investors and then move those trusts down to the investors. Then they can close on those properties. Now, this is something that we've put together from the standpoint that when you're a wholesaler, you want to make it as easy as possible for the wholesaler to handle this deal. You don't want to have those unnecessary costs that LLCs create for you. You don't want to have any of the unnecessary paperwork you have to go through with a limited liability company. You want to make sure that the seller is not going to prevent the deal from occurring. So our Wholesale Trust is a very valuable tool if you're a wholesaler, and I strongly suggest that you consider utilizing it if you want to go out there and start taking deals down. This is the way to do it. We've perfected this trust to a point where it is the premier tool for wholesale investors. Now, if you want more information about this trust and how it could benefit you, I think what you should do now is contact us at andersonadvisors.com and there request a free consultation with one of our professionals. Our professionals then will walk you through the benefits of using the Wholesale Trust, tell you how you can put it together in your business now to ensure that you're taking maximum advantage of this trust when you're putting your wholesale deals together. Because remember, it's all about working with a team of professionals that bring together the legal side, the tax side, the financial side. We make it not only accurate, but we make it relevant so that your business is set up to achieve your goals. Because at the end of the day, I know you want to be where I want to be. We want to get to that point where we have freedom. And the way we get there is by ensuring that we're maximizing our income on all of the deals that we put together, that our returns are higher. And the ways to prevent that from occurring is by having a bad foundation laid for you. Now, we were going to create that foundation for you. Give us a call today. Go to our website and ensure that you get a free consultation set up. And if you have the time, maybe look at one of our events and sign up for one of our upcoming seminars where we go into the stuff really deep. My name is Clint Coons with Anderson Business Advisors, and I look forward to seeing you in the future. Thank you.